Whether you're in North or South Carolina or anywhere else in the world, enter the Cat Cave with Ryan Frick and Shannon Smith to listen to your favorite Carolina Panthers podcast as a part of the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, where you can find shows like Embrace Debate and Inside the Vault, powered by the Fans First Sports Network, and also over on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, where you can also watch Believe in Panthers with Desmond Johnson and Jonathan Stewart. It's your guy, I would say Bully Rye, but that's a different show. Ryan Frick here, alongside my guy Shannon, to talk some Panthers football after another disappointing week. Shannon, what's going on, bud?
Oh man, not too much. We gotta dig into this game, which was an obvious step backwards for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said step backwards because it felt like regression this week. You know what I'm saying? Let's go
Yes.
ahead and just get right into the game here. As the Dallas Cowboys come on the road, the first time the Carolina Panthers have been favored in a game in 2 years and just beat up on the Panthers. It never really felt like a game. Let's we've been starting on the defense the last few weeks because the defense has sort of kept us in games, getting after the quarterback. Let's start off on offense because we said a few weeks ago that as long as Bryce Young doesn't turn the ball over, as long as the offensive line continues to protect him, and as long as he's got a strong run game, this offense can continue to improve. And in this game, Bryce Young is sacked 6 times by the Dallas Cowboys. He throws 2 interceptions, and Chuba Hubbard, the leading running back for the Carolina Panthers, 10 carries for 32 yards. If you can't do the quick math, that's 3.2 yards per carry. The lone bright spot in this game was a long touchdown to Jalen Coker. That was basically all Jalen Coker. Shannon, give us your thoughts on the Panthers offense here in this latest loss by the Carolina Panthers.
Man, the stats reflected it was disappointing. We talked about the offensive line stepping up, making key blocks, giving Bryce time to pass the ball. That didn't happen. We're talking about Bryce Young's ability to stay away from turnovers. Didn't happen. We talked about how Chuba Hubbard has been the unsung hero of this offense, and he still is. Even after his game, he still is. But in this game, like you said, 3.2 yards per carry didn't happen. He touched the ball. The Cowboys knew where he was at all times. And they only gave him 10 carries because Carolina was playing from behind, which I understand. I get it. You got to get the ball down the field fast in order to get into the game. But with that being said, that led to a lot of the turnovers. But yeah, Jalen Coker, big ups to him. He played very, very well in this game. But all in all, that was it for the offense. To me, what I saw out of this offense was desperation. You know, when you do desperate things, you tend to make mistakes, you tend to have tunnel vision. And that's what this offense had because they were playing from behind practically all game.
Yeah, it's really disappointing when, again, the first time they've been favored in 2 years, you sort of expect them. Like we both picked the Panthers to finally be able to put it together this week. And they're going to need a lot out of Jalen Coker. We're going to get to that here in a couple of minutes. Going forward for the rest of the year in the 3 games that they have left. They're sitting at 3-11, so that's 14. They got 3 more games, left this season. So they're going to need some output from some more of the younger guys as we saw some more injuries. Let's go on defense because last week we talked about the fact that the Carolina Panthers were giving up about 6.2 yards per carry to the previous 2 running backs in the last 2 games, and they gave up 6 yards to carry to one Rico Dowdle, 25 carries, 149 yards. But I think the story of this game is the fact that Cooper Rush came out and looked competent against this defense. The Carolina Panthers defense has averaged around 4 sacks per game in that. I wouldn't call it a win streak because they haven't been winning, but in that streak that they were keeping up with the Joneses, if you will, with the Chiefs and the Eagles and so on and so forth. But in this game, they only get 1 sack on Cooper Rush, and they gave up a huge day to CeeDee Lamb, who, for all intents and purposes, has sort of been like on the outside looking in with this Cowboys offense that has struggled mightily this season. Shannon, what'd you see from this defense what'd you see from this defense? I don't know how to ask the question. What'd you see from this defense in this game?
I saw inconsistency because, of course, not getting to the quarterback doesn't help your coverage. Getting to the quarterback helps your coverage.
Mm.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Although CD Lamb has had a different quarterback throwing him the ball because Dak Prescott's hurt, he's still a dangerous receiver. He's still a dangerous guy. The matchup wasn't there in the defensive backfield. CD Lamb was able to have his way. Not only that, the running game ate. The running game was very good for Dallas, which was something that Dallas seemed like they didn't have. And that was something that we pointed out on last show. They've got to be able to run the ball in order for them to have some type of chance against the Panthers. And run the ball they did. So there was inconsistency at times because Carolina didn't know what to cover first, the pass or the run. If they covered the pass, the running game came in. If they covered the run, Cooper Rush was able to throw it up top and over this defensive backfield. So the matchup wasn't there. It's just Carolina didn't match up well with Dallas, especially in the passing game.
Yeah, listen, there's not much positive to talk about with this game from the perspective of the Carolina Panthers. I will give a shout out to the South Carolina Gamecocks that played in this game. Dowdle being one of them for having his big day, 149 yards. I believe that might be his third straight 100-plus yard game for the Dallas Cowboys. Jalen Brooks caught a touchdown from Cooper Rush in this game, also a former Gamecock. Transferred in. There's a whole story. And then Israel Mukuamu, the safety for the Cowboys, ended up picking off Bryce Young in the end zone in this game. So after the game, there was a bunch of Gamecocks between DJ Wanham and Jalen Brooks and Xavier Legette. They all kind of got together to sort of, celebrate together as Gamecocks, despite the fact that the Panthers now sit at 3-11 on the season. And with that loss to the Dallas Cowboys, the Carolina Panthers, and we've talked about for weeks, we're not out of the running for the NFC South, have now officially been eliminated from the playoffs. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I still believe that the Vegas Raiders may still currently hold the number one overall pick. I don't know if they've already locked that up. But what does it mean to you that the Panthers will miss the playoffs yet again in 2024?
It was something that I feel like, well, something that I saw coming because there had to be some rebuilding done with this squad. Now, do I see it? I mean, of course, anytime you miss the playoffs is disappointing. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you're used to having, whether you went to the Super Bowl last year, won or lost, or whether you missed the playoffs again. You're going to hate missing the playoffs. You want to play that postseason. You want a chance to go for the title. So it's going to be disappointing. But one of the things I can say is that I did not see this coming because the Panthers have got to rebuild, missing out on the first round pick again, but until they traded into the first round. The draft is going to have to be key for the Panthers. They're looking for the draft, they're looking at the draft. This is something that they're able to build off this year, to be honest with you, because there is some bright spots on this team. Regardless of how the Panthers finish, there's some bright spots on this team. The fact that Bryce actually did have an opportunity to look good in a few games. He was able to catch some wins. He was able to catch a break a little bit. The fact that Chuba Hubbard still ran the ball effectively, earned his money. You had output from young players, Jalen Coker being one of those guys, being getting some output. You got some output from JC Horn at the corner position. There's going to be some things that Carolina's going to have to look at, that what worked and what didn't. And then next year, once again, they'll have another crack at it. But this goes to, they have to be able to look at what they see, like look at what they had this year and hold on to what they had, and then look to build through the draft and free agency.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, there's a lot of output from young guys, right? We talked about Jatavian Sanders, who seemed to be breaking out before he suffered that stinger a few weeks back. Hasn't really produced since. Obviously, he missed a game or two with that injury. A lot of injuries took place on this team throughout the season to some key positions. We talked about Derek Brown and Shaq Thompson. We talked, we haven't talked so much about Miles Sanders because he's been an afterthought after Chuba Hubbard got his extension. And we also haven't really discussed a whole lot. Jonathan Brooks, like he only played really 3 games before he re-injured and retore his ACL. So, when it comes to the missing the playoffs, I don't think anybody's surprised. We saw signs of the fact that they could be improving, which is all that we wanted last season, and it's all we wanted this season. But then you get a game like we had last week against the Dallas Cowboys, and you wonder where and how they regressed so poorly after playing some of the top teams in the league so great. I mean, the Eagles sit at 12-2, the Chiefs sit, if I can find it, at 13-1, and they were essentially one score games against those teams. And then they play a struggling, middling Dallas Cowboys team who themselves have not been eliminated out of the playoffs at 6-8 yet. So yeah, I rather than just stutter all over this podcast, I don't know how to put my thoughts into words. I will say that you can at least find solace as a Carolina Panthers fan that you were not eliminated from the playoffs before teams like the New York Giants, like the New York Jets, like the Las Vegas Raiders. They join the likes of the Jags, the Titans, the Browns, who have not been eliminated from the playoffs, the Patriots, like I said, the Jets. There's still a lot of teams that are still in contention, but seeing what we've seen from the Carolina Panthers the last few years, this is not surprising whatsoever. Disappointing, but not surprising. I talked a second ago about the fact that there were some injuries at key positions. 2 more injuries in this game that will effectively, I would imagine, end a couple of seasons. Let's start off with a rookie wide receiver, first rounder Xavier Legette, injured his groin in the third quarter of this loss to the Dallas Cowboys, is doubtful to play this week. Shannon, do you think if he's able to go, you think they should just go ahead and sit him down?
I would say so. Legette is one of those guys that you want to build your passing game off of. You don't want to put him out there and further the chance of injury, but you also do have to understand there are other pieces around him. But you got to make sure that he is okay because he is one of those pieces. So I would say don't do it.
Also in this game, second-year linebacker, and I'm going to butcher this name, Clouden Chirillis, is out for the remainder of the year with a toe injury that is going to require surgery. He was basically like a third linebacker, the next man up in this offense. Terry and Armstead, I believe, went out, and so he replaced him. And they're hopeful that Armstead will be able to play this weekend, but Chirillis is out for the remainder of the season. Not injury-related, but the Panthers cut a former fifth-round safety and former Gamecock, I might add, and Jamie Robinson. And he was immediately claimed by the Cardinals. A lot of people have claimed waivers this season, albeit because of salary, situations or whatnot. Do you think, and again, we didn't really see much from Jamie Robinson, but the Cardinals are a playoff contender right now. Do you think all these additions that the Panthers made, do you think they might have dropped the ball here with a former fifth-round safety and Jamie Robinson?
It's debatable right now. It is debatable because, like you said, there have been injuries, and Carolina's had to play with guys from the practice squad, the second, third string guys that haven't had full starters in. So it's one of those things where we don't know for sure, but it depends on what you're building towards. So I will say that as of right now, I don't think so, but only time will tell.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've only got 3 more games to watch the Carolina Panthers this season. I'm not sure what that means for the future of the show. Like, I'm sure we'll kind of chime in and pop in to do shows and stuff like that, but we've at least got 3 more weeks to come and talk to you about Panthers football, because obviously the Panthers being on the playoffs, I mean, we can speculate on draft picks and stuff like that, but I feel like maybe we should wait until closer to time for that and give you guys some time to rebuild and refresh yourselves after yet another disappointing season under the ownership of the worst owner in sports, David Tepper. That being said, we talked about the Arizona Cardinals going and picking up Jamie Robinson, and that is who the Panthers play this weekend, as the 7-7 Cardinals are a 5-point road favorite against the Carolina Panthers, who sit at 3-11. It is your 1 o'clock Sunday kickoff over on Fox. If you're in the Carolinas, that will be your local game, despite the fact that there is probably the best game of the weekend playing in that same time slot. That for local, like listen, I'm not trying to be that guy to look a gift horse in the mouth. Like, as a Braves fan, a lot of the Braves games have been blacked out, despite the fact that they're the most local Major League Baseball team to the Carolinas. But like, this Cardinals Panthers game is going on at the same time as the Eagles and Commanders on Sunday. Like, I just don't. Sometimes you wish that maybe they just bump the local team for the game that actually means something, right? Like, yeah, this game means something for the Cardinals, who are fighting for a playoff spot. But like, the Eagles and Commanders, like the Commanders still aren't out of the hunt for the NFC East. Like, yeah, the Eagles have clinched a playoff spot, but they haven't clinched the division yet. This is a big game. And as much as I like to watch Carolina play, I'd much rather watch the Eagles and Commanders go on Sunday at 1 o'clock. That being said, Shannon, is there any shot that the Panthers can play spoiler to the aspiring Arizona Cardinals?
I would love for that to happen. And to be honest with you, I think this will be a more competitive game than what we saw this past weekend. I think it will be. There's some times where the Cardinals have made some very foolish mistakes. There have been some times where they've kind of played flat. But with Carolina now, on the other hand, it's been tough with them getting over some injuries. They're not going to have Xavier Legette. They're coming off of a not so great game last week. So it's all about where their heads are at. I, for one, am kind of hoping that this game's on TV because my mom and dad are going to this game.
Oh, that's fun. You want to see the folks on the Jumbotron.
Exactly.
I got you, man.
And also, with that being said, that game is on my mom's birthday. So yeah. So it would be cool to see. But I am with you on that one, though. Philadelphia and Washington do have something to play for. But do I think the Panthers will play spoiler to the Cardinals? I would love to, but I don't think so.
I really wish you would cut me off when I was going on and on about how meaningless this game was. Like, hey, bro, my mom's birthday is Sunday, and she's going to be there, you jerk. What do you mean you don't want? I'm sorry, you don't want to see it? Like, you bum. No, listen, preseason, I made predictions for all 18 weeks for all 32 teams. In preseason, I took Arizona to lose this game to Carolina. I don't see that happening. That's going to be one of the games that I missed this week. Listen, maybe the Panthers only play well against teams that have 500 or winning records. Maybe Adam Thielen didn't have a great game last weekend. He had 5 catches for 51 yards. Again, Jalen Coker was the star of that offense last week. Maybe they're able to put it back together and at least keep this game closer than 5 points. But there was an old wrestling theme song that goes, "You've got no chance." Yeah, that's how I feel about the Panthers this weekend against the Cardinals, which would drop the Panthers to 3-12, which is right on pace with how bad they were last year. So, maybe if we had obviously we have turnover on the roster. We got to get better on the roster side of it. I think we got the right coaching staff at this point. I think Dan Morgan might know what he's doing, despite the fact that I questioned the release of Jamie Robinson. But just imagine if you had an owner that kind of had some inkling of what he was doing. And granted, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Ever since he was in the locker room after the Panthers got their first win this year, I haven't heard much about David Tepper since.
No.
So, maybe he listens to this show and finally decided to take a step back. Like, oh, you know what? That fat bearded guy, the Scott Calvin in September guy over on the Cat Cave might know a little thing or two about what he's doing. By the way, if you're watching the show on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, I am wearing an ugly Christmas sweater, and it is a Darth Vader ugly Christmas sweater because next Wednesday is Christmas. We normally record on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, but next week is the Christmas holiday, and there's going to be a lot going on. So we're probably not going to record next week unless we do it like, I don't know, the day after, maybe Monday. Either way, we don't know what's going to come next week regarding the holidays. So I wanted to make sure I got a chance to wear the Christmas sweater. And if you tune in over on the, if you go over and watch the Tap Outs and Touchdowns episode from this week, you'll see the same Christmas sweater. Because why change into a different shirt? Pretend like I have a bunch of clothes that I don't. I actually have way too many shirts and not enough closet space. I tell you, if I ever got a relationship where I had a girl move in with me again, like I don't know what they would do because like I legit don't have any closet space anymore. Like I have no idea what would happen. I mean, I've got chest of drawers and dressers in my house that are full of clothes. So anyway, ugly Christmas sweater. And all that stuff. All right. I've gone on a couple of tangents and we don't need to. So let's go ahead and give you guys an early out this week. If you want to find Shannon on social media, you can find him on X and Instagram at podcast_Smitty. You can find me over on Twitter or X at Tapouts and TDs, Facebook.com/Tapouts and Touchdowns, and on Instagram at Ryan Frick Comedy. But you've got to make sure that you're following our socials for the actual show. Facebook.com/The Cat Cave FFSN, over on Instagram and X at The Cat Cave _FFSN. Shannon, before we sign off, anything you want to leave the audience with tonight?
First of all, once again, happy birthday to my mom on the 22nd. Everyone, Merry Christmas. Have a happy New Year. Enjoy your family. And if you got holiday problems with anyone in your family, patch it up, man. Life is too short. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your family. And also enjoy some football. Hopefully we get a Panthers victory. It's going to be tough, but if anything can happen, it can happen. So, Merry Christmas, everybody.
We got to talk off air because I love the message that you just sent. Yeah, to Shannon's point, listen, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday. I'm sure, hopefully, we'll be back before New Year's to recap one more week of Panther football. Maybe he and I talk off air, and we do have a show next week. But as he said, this is the time to celebrate with family and friends, and sort of leave the rest of the garbage at the door. Despite the fact that I just went on a rant about David Tepper selling the team and all that stuff. I guess I can wish him a Merry Christmas too. Although maybe he's not. I mean, maybe he doesn't celebrate Christmas. I don't know. Maybe he's more of an Ebenezer Scrooge guy. By the way, listen, at this point, I kind of understand where Ebenezer Scrooge was coming from, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He made his money. He got older, and he wanted people to leave him alone. I wish they would remake A Christmas Carol where at the end of the movie he learned nothing. Tiny Tim is outside of his window. And he's like, hey, you get off my sidewalk. He's like, weren't you visited by 3 ghosts last night? Yeah, and I'll tell him the same thing that I'm telling you. Get out of my face. So, anyway, everybody, enjoy your holiday. Enjoy the time with your family. Have a Merry Christmas, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays and all that stuff. So until next time, you may now exit the Cat Cave. But make sure to listen to more content on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, and more Carolina Panthers themed podcasts on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. For Shannon Smith, I'm Ryan Frick, and we'll see you next week right back here inside the Cat Cave.
Go Panthers.